G'day and welcome again to the Campfire Project panel discussion. And today I have with me, first of all, Jerome Lamarque down there in Sydney. Jerome, as everybody knows, helps men to perform at their peak performance in business. How are you, Jerome?
I'm very well, Alan, and as usual, thanks for doing these discussions, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with these, especially with these two special guys. I've been watching their videos; they're amazing, and it's always fun to spend time with you, buddy.
Excellent. And that's what the good thing about it is that we've had a chat before we started, but everybody, we've been laughing and carrying on. So we're already getting to know each other in the early stages. And then we have Scott Carson, who's down there in Melbourne. Scott hosts a Sunday session. How are you, Scott?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Alan. Thanks again for having me on. Looking forward to another good discussion.
Oh, it's great to have you here again because you've always had a lot of good information to share with us. So it's fantastic. And then we have Sean McBride down there in, you're up in Brisbane, I should say. You're not down anywhere. So we've pretty much covered the coast. And for those that have seen Sean before, Sean is who runs the Mammoth Hunters Club, which is all about, as you've said before, Sean, it doesn't take one person who's ever killed a mammoth. It takes a number of people, so working as a team. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for that, and hi to you guys. Nice to be here.
Beautiful. Excellent. Now, we were talking about a subject, and we've been throwing it around between us, and one that came up from Sean was the subject of finding purpose in life. So being a good host here, I'm just going to pass it straight over to you, Sean, and say, right, what was the purpose behind that particular subject you want to talk about?
Oh, thanks, Alan. Well, basically, I suppose that I've been grappling with that most of my life, and what I found was that we have a purpose or a different purpose at different times in our lives. I don't know that there's any one single purpose out there for a person that's going to last their whole life. And in my experience, I've had a number of purposes in life, and I don't believe that it's something that gets handed down to you by God or by the universe. I think it's a case of you basically choose it, and for yourself. And the beauty of that is that you can choose anything. The problem, I think, is that it's difficult for people to cut through all the clutter to kind of understand what it is that is their purpose. And so I open it up to you other guys to chime in here with your own views on it.
Well, one of the things I've noticed is that, we talk about purpose being something that the universe provides, but I think it's really cause and effect. The things that we do in our life take us down different pathways. And it's while we're going down those pathways that we actually recognize things that start to connect with our internal, the way we feel about things.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, in my life, there's been a lot of changes. I've got a purpose now, which I think I'm pretty sure is going to last me for a long time to come. But leading up to that, there were a lot of changes along the way.
For sure. I think it's the old thing about the journey, not the destination, but you have to have a destination in order to do the journey. And in the process of having the journey, you learn about yourself, and pretty much what you're saying, and the purpose kind of reveals itself.
That's it. You've been working with men, Jerome. So what have you found with the work that you've done? Because you've had a bit of a change in life. You lived in England, you're living over here, the work you've done has changed. What sort of things have come up in your purpose?
You know what? This is why I love these discussions, and I don't think there's a wrong or a right way of approaching purpose. But what I've found, especially working with men, I used to work with elite athletes as well, and I still work with I work with a professional boxer today and a sprinter. And what I've learned, it's a little bit it's a lot different to Sean. It's probably the other side of the coin. I think we all have a purpose, but the vehicle changes in the way we have the purpose. So, and when I really work with guys, and I mainly work with ambitious guys, so they're not necessarily going through a challenging phase in their life. The challenge is going to the next level. So they're very ambitious people. So growing up, the thing I lacked, I perceived I lacked, was confidence around other people, confidence to express myself in my sport. And I was very shy. And everywhere I've gone, it doesn't matter, as a parent, as a fitness coach, sports psychologist, and now business performance specialist, all those people come to me with that issue. The ability to express themselves in their chosen field. And it's the challenge that I went through and overcame myself. It was my biggest challenge. I was very, very shy. It's the thing that I've probably passed on to my children the most, to be very confident in expressing themselves. As a fitness coach, when I was working in a rugby league club, it's getting players back on the field to express themselves and have the confidence after a major injury. And it's what I'm doing in business now. So my purpose has never changed. I thought my purpose was to be a father, was to be a sport. I thought that it was actually the same thing, but the vehicle changed around it. And when I work with guys now and I see it, I'm saying your purpose hasn't changed. You've just changed the vehicle, because you are who you are. We're creatures of habit. And you'll also find it with self-sabotaging patterns. So a lot of people a business might fail and they'll start another business, but exactly where the business failed, it fails in the same area in the next business, because they haven't broke through the ceiling of themselves in that area. So, and I'm happy to not be right, but this is what I found with me, and this is what I found with my clients. When you unearth what your real purpose is, it can be as simple as helping people overcome shyness to express themselves better. That's my purpose in life. And it's been with my children, it's been with my the elite athletes, and now it's with business owners. And they really struggle to do videos online, write content, stand up and public speak, all those areas that I was challenged in. Now I'm doing it in that area, and it's the same for the sports person on the field, to open up and really be in flow state and block everything else and just perform at your peak. And so that's what I've found. So I'd love to hear what you've got to say, Scott, because you've gone through. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Purpose in life. Like, even now, I'm 42 years old, been through some bits and pieces, going through some little things at the minute I've got to clean up. And I'm finding that the Sunday sessions group, which I run, it's mainly guys in their 40s. And it seems to be at about our age, we're really looking for purpose. Kids are getting a bit older. Things have been on a pretty good front at home, but they're sort of not being challenged. So I see a lot of men not having purpose and not knowing how to get it. I think the key to looking for purpose is to actually try things. Try as many things as you like until something fits. Because at the end of the day, like for me, everyone goes, "Yes, you're having a crack at everything." Well, I'm going to open every door I can. The more doors I open, the more I can close. And then I at least get to see what's behind them. Okay, I think the biggest failure in life is to not open those doors. Try everything once. If you don't like it, try it again. Make sure you don't like it, and then keep going through with your purpose. Like for myself, like with Sunday sessions, like it's just through trying new things and being around new people, I found my purpose in what I enjoyed. I enjoyed being around them, and I enjoyed talking about life. Therefore, it's just led me down a path of wanting to do more in life and to help other people get to that point in life where they just achieve that little bit more than what they thought they could. And I think once you start doing those sorts of things, then you start finding your own purpose. But you've actually got to keep working at it. I don't think it's it. Well, I'm a bit like Sean. I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's continual evolving. So it might be the vehicle. I was very, very interested in hearing what you had to say there, Jerome.
It's fantastic, guys. It's, as I say, there's no right and wrong. I've just found everywhere I go, that's where people come to me. And it's that thing. It's that, it's interesting, Scott, what do those guys see in you that they perceive by being around you will help them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to have to think about the answer for half a second. I think it's energy. energy and a zest for life, because I am literally, I'm the one guy, if you say, let's do this, I'm in. It doesn't matter what it is, I'm in. I'll give it a crack, because life, I'm a firm believer, life is only a life if it's lived. Like today's panel has been, like, I genuinely been excited about it. And simply because I don't see anybody on here that doesn't live. You have a crack. And that's what makes us attractive to other people. Other people look at us and go, wow, look what they're doing now. Look what they're having a crack at now. But I think that's the enticement for other people to do.
Yeah, I think that's important, because when you're doing that, Scott, the other men are seeing that they can give themselves permission to do the same. And the age of 40 is really important. We need to be doing this long before we get to 40, because when we look at males, first it's the boys between 15 and 19 who are the high suicide rate, but the next highest suicide rate are men in their mid-40s. And so we need to be looking at that purpose long before we get to the 40s. So men in their 30s should be looking at it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, you get to 40, you got the dad bod going on. You got, things aren't holding together as much as they used to. What's your purpose? What am I here for? I've done the kids. That's why it's so important to do things for yourself. And one of the things that I really encourage all the guys I'm around is to do Tough Mudder, do a 5K run, do a 10K run. Just push yourself to the next limit, because when you achieve something, you just feel good. And that energy continues through all parts of your life.
Great advice, I think. I think these different perspectives, Alan, are not really even that different. It's like we're all looking at the same elephant, but one's holding the trunk and one's looking at the legs and one's looking at the tail. But they're all aspects of the same issue, which is the search for purpose, which in a way is like Viktor Frankl's thinking, the search for meaning. And what Jerome was saying about it being the vehicle, I was kind of reflecting back on it. I was thinking, there's probably something in that we are here to maybe express ourselves in a way that is unique to us, utilizing all of our, personality, whatever it is that we've learned over time. And it doesn't matter so much what vehicle it might be, because you'll be expressing your uniqueness through whatever one you take.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something in that as well, because when you think about the fact that things happen in our life, cause and effect, and we seem to have a purpose, and our purpose seems to be the same. If I look back at mine, yes, I work with people now about relationships. I did that in employment with the teams I had working with me. So the vehicle in that case was changing, but the purpose was still the same. It was the relationships that I built. But then taking it deeper again, what was the other thing you just mentioned then, Sean? What was the other word? That's
meaning.
Meaning. Yeah.
Yeah.
The meaning behind why we do it as well. That's the thing that it's probably the meaning that we're searching for. The purpose is already there. The vehicles keep changing, but what's the meaning of it that helps us then find the right vehicle to fulfill that purpose?
I think there's an underlying theme here of helping people, whether we kind of recognize that or not. I think that's a drive, perhaps not in everyone, but in a lot of people, that they don't recognize. I read a while back, which I thought was really fascinating, that the number one daydream of Americans is to rescue someone's life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I thought that was quite fascinating. I mean, obviously there's a lot of kudos and there's a lot of ego in the fact that you've rescued someone and, you're a hero. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it's that drive to actually, do something meaningful and help other people. And all this, you would know all the research about when people help other people, they feel better.
It's like you ask your friends and that would, you help me, and your friends say yes. Why do they do it? Because they want to do it. And so to be able to, yes, as you say, if you were able to rescue someone's life, yes, there'd be the kudos of being a hero and everything else, but it's the deeper feeling inside of, I think, coming back to, of being of real purpose, of being of real value to somebody else. Because I think we are tribal creatures, and therefore being not servants, but being of service is important to us.
Absolutely.
Well, just on that, like one of my good friends came to a workshop we did, and we're just talking about life. Now, he's had attempted suicide 3 times, has been in a world of pain, pretty much kept it to himself. They had the Triple M No Talk Day not long ago, where they didn't talk for the day. He put up a post thanking Triple M and actually opened the doors, put out a message saying, if anyone is dealing with anything, no matter who you are, it doesn't matter, call me. I'm here for you. Here's someone without a purpose that's just really struggling with life. He actually had 5 people call him that day. And he actually sat down, went through the process for it. He rang me that night. He hadn't spoken to me for a little while. He goes, he watches what we do and how we talk about things in life. And he rang me to tell me how special he felt because he helped others. Since then, he's now gone to find a TAFE course, which he'll be starting next year, for counselling. He found a purpose through helping other people through what his pain is.
Fantastic.
So quite often I find whatever situations you go through in life, that pain that you get through, the situation you get through, and when you share that with other people, you share the stories, you share all of a sudden you find purpose in your pain.
100%, Scott. And I think if you look at men, especially when they retire, their mental and physical health really declines at an alarming rate. And there was an interview with David Attenborough the other day, and quite a while back. I think he's 93, and they said, have you ever thought of retiring or slowing down? He went, no, there's still animals I want to bring to people's front rooms, and I want to share this beautiful world we live in with them. And just that statement alone is a man living with purpose. And at 93, he's still got his faculties, got ambitions, and he's still got goals. And I think if you truly tap into your purpose, because purpose really, if we call it something else, is caring. It's something you really care about. And I really care about helping my team express themselves more. And they're somewhere on, they've got the things that really stop us doing things is what we think other people will think of us. And so the moment we move through that space of focusing on caring more than what other people think of us, we start then to do things that are more purpose driven. So, and I say to him, like, if you're doing a video and you're really nervous, think about the one person you've had a great conversation with where you helped, and only talk to that person on the video you're doing, even though it's going out on social media, because you're making the video about you and not about the person you care about. So the moment you tap into the person you had that conversation and the video's about that particular subject, you forget everything because you're caring now. And once you start caring about something that you've overcome yourself and you felt the pain, you might have walked in their feet for 100 meters, but not a mile, because something similar and you can relate to it. There's alignment there. There's an alignment with what you're doing. I was terribly shy as a kid and lacking confidence in my sport. I never expressed myself. And I lived with that pain of not being a professional footballer when I could have been if I'd have got out of my own way. And it's business, growing a business can be very spiritual if you approach it with a sense of purpose. And how do I make my community a better place by me becoming stronger in myself and getting out of my own way? And so, that's why I was quite emotional when I listened to your video, Scott. And, you said you wanted to build a community. And that for me is the pain you've gone through in your life. I haven't experienced that kind of pain, but that for me is like courage. That can do that courage, because we can all say we're going to do it, but you've actually been in the trenches. You've been in the trenches, and I don't know what that's like. So that's what I'm saying. You've got so much to offer as a man, but sometimes I don't realize it within ourselves. We take it for granted because we overcame it. And because we overcame it so slowly, we don't recognize the journey we went on.
Well, I can't thank you enough for that, because I still, even today, sit back and you know, some of it still hurts. And at the moment, some of it's been dug up again. So I've got to go through it all again. And it's like you get beaten with a stick. And it's just my life, you know, and I've never seen it as anything as special. I've never seen it as anything, you know, harder than anything. I just know that I've had to live it. And in living it, it's given me the opportunity to be able to sit here with yourself and talk authentically about what pain's about. Talk about, you know, and part of who I've found myself in my purpose is because I've done these things and I seek pain now. I can now share that with people, and people are really comfortable with me because of that.
Yes.
Because they know that I've walked the line. I'm not just talking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the same with you, Sean. It's like going to the Arctic and talking about your goals, and when you're not in that space, you sort of lose yourself a bit, and you know, listening to it and sharing that, and you know, so many men would recognize that. And then it's that other journey is when we are by ourselves, how can we build a better relationship when we are on our own? Because ultimately, if we can have a great relationship when we're lonely, it helps us have a better relationship when we're with other people as well, because then we really enjoy our own company. And you know, you've both got different sort of journeys. We all have, and we all bring something to the table, and certain men and women will be attracted to us depending on their journey in life, what they need. And it's like we're all connected in some way. But sometimes I need a little bit of Scott. Sometimes I need a bit of Sean. Sometimes I need a bit of Alan. And I'm not saying us as individuals. I'm talking about energy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, you know, the menu of life that we go through. And so I really respect you guys and admire you guys. And I've known Alan for a while, and you know, I just love and adore him. So just building this platform of community and doing these things is a commitment, is a desire there to improve our community. So, you know, we do, as you said, Scott, we're doing it. It's just that we've got maybe different ways of approaching it.
That's it.
I think maybe one of the, you know, my big thing now is because I've only realized fairly recently about this whole issue about tribes, is that, you know, when we were developing in tribes over hundreds of thousands of years, we had a purpose, and the purpose was to protect the tribe. It was to gain food for the tribe. It was all about, you know, surviving ourselves through protecting the tribe, which will also protect us. And now we've got this situation where we are nuclear families or individuals, often depressed and isolated on our own, and we have to actually go away from home to actually be with other people. Whereas in the past, we would have to go away to be away from people. So it's a very different world that we live in now. And I think part of not being with the tribe has also affected our understanding of purpose. So we have to find unique and new ways of finding purpose in the world that we've created now.
That's it. Yes. We go into work and we go in with all these other people, and there's no connection. Whereas in the tribal times, you were out hunting together. There was a mutual purpose on what you were doing. Now we just go to collect pay. That's our version of killing the beast and feeding our family. And another reason why when men retire, they're no longer fulfilling that role, that old primal tribal role of actually going out and killing the beast. They're no longer doing that. And it's like, where's their life gone?
Exactly.
So these are the things that are compounding, whereas women along the way have always had a bit of a connection with other women. And so the men have fallen behind in that aspect, but I think the women are falling into that now as well with the career base that they're going into. And they're going into that, what they class as a man's world of the workplace, and they're fulfilling the same, trying to follow the same process as the men and not bringing their feminine side into the workplace to turn it back into. That could be our solution. If the women came to the workplace with the right energy, then we would have the family in the workplace. And I think our attitudes then would completely change, and the men would be different in the workplace and therefore different at home. Yeah. But while the women are coming into the workplace and trying to compete with the men on the men's level, we're never going to have that. We're actually going to break it down further.
Yeah, spot on, Alan. you listen to, I've had a few discussions with women recently, and it's like saying, and the subject of equality comes up, and my conversation always goes back to, we keep talking about equality. Shouldn't the conversation be, from my perspective, about absolutely admiring our differences, respecting our differences, and actually championing them, rather than the left and the right trying to become all censored? Shouldn't we be championing absolutely our beauties and why we are different and how it actually makes the whole, makes everything complete? And when we do that, and I think exactly what you're saying, Alan, when we actually champion the differences, the workplace becomes a better place, rather than we're all fighting for the masculine energy. We're all fighting for dominance, rather than going, well, we need it all actually to move forward.
Yeah, because if we're creating a team, for instance, at work, it's not from people who are the same. It's all the people and all their differences, because people will love to do some stuff that other people won't love to do, and that's how they work together. So we look for difference there, but we're still talking about this equality and being the sameness, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's interesting from a survival point of view, because I think, as you know, Alan, I used to teach survival, that if you have a group of men put them through a survival exercise, or you have a group of women and put them through a survival exercise, or you have a group of women and men together in a survival exercise, the group of women and men together usually does much better. And so if that can be translated into the workplace, it would be a much happier world, I think.
That's it.
Why do you think that is, Sean?
I think it's because women have a different approach to things. It's not that women are necessarily affecting the outcome. It's the interplay of men and women together that's affecting the outcome. They kind of play off each other, and women have a different perspective to men. Men tend to be very practical, logical. This is how we do it. Just, give me the results. Women will kind of look at it from a outside the box kind of view. And but this only works if and when they actually listen to each other. Yeah. Because if you have guys that go, yeah, whatever, we'll do it my way, then they're going to fail just as badly as an all male group or an all female group. If you don't have people that step up and say, well, look, this is my contribution. If you have people that stay quiet, that affects the outcome as well. But if they actually express themselves and people listen to each other, then you get a much better outcome.
That's the key to life, isn't it? Being able to listen to people, to hear what they've got to say. Like I find that's in everything. Like the more you get to know people, the better your community. That's what I'm finding.
It's really interesting you say that, Sean, because the subject is finding purpose in life, and I think once you really hone into it, where your sweet spot is, and you sort of you track your history and you go, wow, this really is my sweet spot. This is what the universe keeps sending me, whether I like it or not. I get this all the time because in some way, this is my gift to the world. It starts to put you in a position of leadership in your specific field. And what do most people crave leadership for is to feel safe. When they feel that someone's making really good decisions based on a certain skill set, the pack feels safe. They might not always agree with the leader, but they think, wow, someone's making a decision and we've got direction. And that comes back to that survival thing as well. Once we actually go, right, this person's good in this area. He's really good at building shelters. Let him run this project because he's X, Y, and Z. Well, this person's really good at understanding the forest and the food. Let them run that project. And all those skill sets and purposes come together because there's leadership in different areas and they're all being respected. And that's when we start to feel safe as a pack.
Well, we can understand how that would work in the tribe too, couldn't you?
That's what I'm saying, Sean. Spot on there with what you're saying. It's like listening to each other and go, wow, you're great at that. You lead that project and we'll all follow.
Absolutely.
See, it's like with it, even at work, if you've got a team of people and you know that one person is really good in one particular area, and that's what the main process is going to be about, no matter what your role is in the business, this is what I used to do with my staff. I would then pick out the person who was the best at that field, put them in charge, and I became one of the team. And I gave them the authority to make all the decisions because I knew that they knew their stuff and the decisions they were making were going to be good. And therefore, everybody saw there was one person running the project, someone they trusted who did it well, that they knew did it well, and I wasn't interfering with it. So they didn't have two bosses at the same time, which also taught me humility as well, but also the smarts to realise that I could always walk away and know that whatever projects were being run, somebody could do it. And the organisation would run and succeed even in my absence.
That reminds me a little bit of some of the early tales of Antarctica, where there wasn't a clear designation of who was in charge, and each time it ended up in a mess. There was friction and dramas, and things didn't go right. So good move.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I've noticed that if we look at a business, if you bring in someone to run your social media and then you tell them what to do, well, you've defeated the object of bringing in a leader in that role, even though it's your business. Because you've got to hand it over. You've got to hand responsibility over to other people. And that's massive in purpose. And that's when all our purposes come together as one. And that's really, really powerful in a tribe, in a team. And I always say to my clients, you're building a business to make a better community. So, you go to workshops and they'll sell you more freedom and more time, get back more freedom. And I'm the opposite with my clients. I say, the minute you build a business, your people are putting faith in your hands, which means you become more responsible.
That's it.
And the more responsibility you can bear on your shoulders, the more people you can help. The community becomes a better place. And because I work with men mainly, I know when the men in the community are happy and living with purpose, the community is a safer place to live in. And that's, I'd rather walk around my community feeling safe than having lots of money in the bank, but have to have iron gates up on the door.
Exactly.
That's it's interesting you say that, Jerome. It just reminded me of when I was in Thailand, and I once I started helping people up there, I overcame depression. But I realized that my life became more important the more people who relied on me in that situation. It was really interesting because I thought to myself early on, I can't die. If I die, all these other people are going to be in trouble because so much is relying on me. So I see your point. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think, I know the masculine energy is to seek release, is to seek freedom. However, I think when we actually dedicate our lives to live, if you look at Jesus or Nelson Mandela or Socrates or Martin Luther King or the Dalai Lama, we know they have a philosophy. As a man, we know they're living with some kind of strong purpose. They get up every day. We actually know them because they're very clear on their purpose. So we don't question them, and we see them as something of, we can put them on a pedestal and an icon, which is the wrong thing to do. But what I'm saying is they're not seeking freedom. They're not seeking it, and they're not seeking to be better than anyone else. They're living with a sense of purpose, and the tribe just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because everyone's seeking someone that stands for something, that is willing to. I always say to my clients, if you really want to be loved, you've got to be prepared to be hated as well. Most people live to be liked. And once you actually stand for something, you'll be opposed. Rightly or wrongly, you'll be opposed. But you'll also be loved. And there's no greater feeling than being loved and then helping other people because you care so much.
I think being part of the tribe is so important because you've got the motivational speakers are talking about having more time and everything else for yourself. When you got that time for yourself, what do you do with it? Well, they say, you go on and find something bigger again to do. Well, you've gone from being this life into freedom and then taking that freedom and getting back into something else bigger again as quickly as you can. So freedom is not really the thing we should be looking for. It's the belonging, the purpose, and the connection that we have with others. What value do we bring to the table? How do we actually connect with people? Because as we know, we feel loved when we feel like we have a purpose, when we feel that we're contributing, when we feel that we're being respected, that we have a place, we're being valued. So it's not freedom we should be searching for. It should be all of those aspects that make us feel loved. And then that's the freedom, that's when you are free.
Yes. Yeah. You're free within yourself because you're living your truth. You're living your truth. And it's really interesting with it when it comes to what you were saying there about responsibility, Alan, because every man that I've worked with, when they learn the psychological tools to handle more pressure, they actually feel more masculine. The performer, because I say to them, you learn all these skills, but you only really find out if they work when you're put under pressure. They're never going to work when the sun's shining and everything's going well. We have to now, and when I mean under pressure, it could be making sales calls. It might be terrifying for someone. They have to practice that under some form of pressure to do that. Now, the more they do that, they grow. The business grows, not because the business has grown, it's because they've confronted their challenge. And so, but what I'm saying is that's where freedom is.
Yeah. When I've been chasing freedom and, all the financial wealth, it's just, thanks guys, because this is just sort of sinking in with me right now. When I was chasing the wealth and everything else, and I never got it, I've done all the different, events and everything else. I've looked at properties, I've looked at a whole bunch of things. But from my very early days, I was always looking for what was my reason for being here, because I never felt like I belonged. So I was looking for a purpose. So I've had this dual thing, going for purpose and going for financial freedom. And not somewhere inside me, I must have known that having the purpose wasn't the financial freedom. They weren't the same thing. So what was more important to me, because it really hit me at a very early age, was knowing why I was here on this planet. And so that's the one that's overruled. Now I know why all that other stuff that I went out and spent a fortune on, all those courses and everything else, never brought the money in. So, thanks for helping me work that one out.
I was going to throw something in quickly, because one of the things, sorry to jump over the top, finding purpose. And one of the things that was a massive help to me to find my personal purpose is actually getting to know my personal values. And that took me a lot of time and practice to be able to work through what I valued in life. Then run through all of the different things in life based upon, are these true to my values? And if they are, then go and spend time in it. Spend time in places where your values are. Your purpose may not be clear straight away, but if your values become clear, I think your purpose will become a lot clearer and quicker.
Yeah, beautiful, Scott. Beautiful. I said, did you have something, Sean? Your turn.
No. Please go. I was just agreeing.
I say to the guys, because it's like there's only three things you can train in life: your mind, your psychology, your physiology, and your art, your craft. And very, very few people train their psychology to perform at its peak. And what I mean by that is to master the art of looking through the lens of optimism when you're on the floor, when you're kicked in the teeth, you're kicked in the guts, but you truly still believe in what you're doing, and you truly still believe in yourself and your art. Very few people train their body the way it should be trained, and not to be better than anyone, not to look good, but to function really well. And very, very few people go, I want to become, not to be better than anyone else, I want to become an authority in this area and to become the best version of myself. Now, if you do those three things and dedicate your life to those three things as a man, whether you like it or not, you will become a leader.
Yeah, I think I more strive for being a better version of myself each day than trying to be my best, because my best is never going to be reached, and probably until the last moment of my life.
Yeah.
So I think
You
not
can't do
putting
anything
too much on ourselves, but just being better every day.
Yeah, very much so.
Well said, Alan.
I love that, because there's nothing you can do about anybody else. The only thing you can do about anybody is yourself. So focus solely on yourself, educate yourself, learn more, train more. You know, your fuel of life is everything you listen to, everything you see, everything you put in your body. You know, fuel just isn't just food. It's everything you do. So, yeah.
And the thing there is, Scott, with education is sticking to a subject where you want to actually go, right, I'm going to actually, because you can learn lots of things, but still procrastinate in doing too much learning. So I say to the guys, psychologically, master your psychology, but then go and test it under pressure. Look at your physique and then go and test it under pressure. Look at your arts, your craft. Where are you becoming the best version of yourself in that craft? Whether it's playing a guitar or talking about purpose. I am going to become number one talker on purpose, and I'm going to travel the world, or I'm going to help men, I'm going to help women, I'm going to help children, whatever it is. Or it could be on vulnerability. Whatever your art is and you want to dive deep into it, and then go and test it under pressure. And it's mastering those things, building the muscles in those areas, and then constantly testing it under pressure. And when I mean pressure, it could be just doing a video on social media that you might go, oh my God, this is really raising my heart rate. I'm breathing from, I can feel a little bit of anxiety, but that's you walking your talk and going, right, this is now I'm going to actually talk about it on social media, or I'm going to do a little workshop, or I'm going to coach someone, or I'm going to do a discussion like this, and I feel uncomfortable. I move towards the thing that makes me uncomfortable. So it's not just learning the 3 things and mastering it. It's actually testing it all the time where you feel most uncomfortable, and then getting the feedback to go, right, where did I do well and where do I need to improve? And when you do that organically, money starts to follow you from business because you become so different to the pack. And you become something that people are seeking desperately in life, and that's a good role model.
Yeah, and I think as you're doing that and becoming that best version of yourself, other men are doing the same thing. The end result is there's all those men that the other people can then be drawn to, who can then be role models for them. So it's not a matter of trying to be the man, but being a man and the best version of that a man that you can be yourself.
That's
and all
right.
the other people the other men doing the same thing. Then you've got a tribe, and everyone's going to be different. So then you all bring value to the table, and you're all uniquely different. But together, it's like, as we say, the partner. If you're men and women, they're not the same. They're complementary. And when you bring those 2 halves together, it's greater than the 2 halves. It's exponential increase. So it's the same thing if you've got all these men right in their own purpose and themselves, then they come together as a tribe. You've got something massively bigger than all of those just added together individually.
Yes. I was thinking about this the other day because, and just curious as to what you guys think about this, but it seems to me, I mean, purpose has always been an issue for me ever since I was quite young. I think from the age of about 10 or 12, I was thinking, what's my purpose here? Why am I doing here, right? And I know that for some people that's not such a big deal. I think the statistics say something like 80% of people don't have a purpose, but a percentage of those probably don't care. But a lot of people do, right? But I was wondering whether it's kind of like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that it's only once you've got your basic survival stuff sorted out that you can then start to think about purpose. Because I've been on some men's groups, and you realize that there's guys who are suffering because they're either homeless, or they don't have their kids, or they're depressed, or they've got no money, or whatever. And it seems to me that before you can maybe start talking to them about purpose, you have to say, okay, first of all, we need to look at getting you a job. Then we need to look at getting you, getting you a home to live in, or, whatever it might be. So I'm just curious as what you guys think about that.
Well, I think that's extremely true in the fact, sorry, Jerome, very true in the fact that I know that if all the people who are loving and caring, who like to help people, when they're under stress, they're not thinking about the other people. They're thinking about, how do I recover from what I'm going through? So when you're in that survival mode, and I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to describe the generations as well. The builders, my parents that went through wars and depressions, they were all about survival. So we were taught about having security. So that was our focus. Once we got through those and we start getting to the higher levels, it's now about self-actualization and things like that. So that's when we start thinking about other people. But at the very base level, it's pure survival. And the only thing we think about is ourselves.
Sure.
So
that's
going to be the strongest area. Jerome, you were going to say?
No, I think this it's a great question you posed, Sean, and it's really interesting because I think it comes down to the individual as well. Sometimes you can get someone to actually realize the pain you're actually in at the moment is your greatest gift. They just can't see it sometimes. They're blindsided by what they're not getting. And I was just working with a professional boxer, and he lost his last fight, and he knew he lost it because of, psychologically, not because of his talent or his physical capabilities. And it's interesting. We started going back into his history and a lot of the pain that came up for him in that. But when you realize that pain was his gift, it flipped everything. It flipped everything in him. And his color changed, everything changed because he was seeing it as a problem and not as a gift. That's why I resonated so much with you, Scott. You don't realize how strong you are because you've gone through pain. Maybe some of us weren't given because you're stronger than us. You've been tested more in life than us because you've actually got more strength.
I've got shivers hearing it. I have trouble hearing it.
Yeah,
I don't struggle with
that. However, it is useless unless you go on to do something with it. You've been given what they call it, the sword, the Excalibur. You've been given that. You don't own it though.
Yeah.
It's now for you to pass it on to other people.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because one of the things that I believe my biggest strength is flipping scenarios and seeing the positives in all situations. I do a thing where we take your biggest problem, we break it down completely, and we go through what was the problem, what was the pain of the problem, what the emotions you felt during the problem. Then we go through, if these were the emotions, what did you learn about the problem? We sit there and look for all the lessons in the problem. And these can be anything from a brother committing suicide to anything. We then turn around and say, now that's the lessons we've got. What are you now grateful for now that you've learnt that from that situation? Every single situation, bar none so far, and I'm tipping there's not going to be, there is gratitude in it. When you find the gratitude inside your deepest pain, i.e., just one of them, with Marcella and holding her in my arms and, the dad and my son and, everyone passing us. One of the greatest gifts I've ever had. I now refuse to give anybody anything less than the best of me. I am here to build a community, give you a smile. If you're in pain, come to me. I'm here. I'll hold that with you and we'll work through it.
I'd like to throw in there as well, then also making sure you give yourself that as well. Because here's something for you, Scott. As they say, if you don't think you're good enough, get over it. If you think you're too good, then get over yourself. And the thing is to find the position in between the two.
Yeah.
Well, that's
work in progress.
Yeah, I'm a work in progress. and this is a part of the beautiful thing. Like it's originally and I've said it before in here, when I first met Alan, I love him with all my heart. I couldn't present to it. And just to step up to the campfire, to sit with you guys, for me is an absolute beautiful privilege because I see what you achieve and I look up to you. And I ask myself, do I deserve to sit here with you guys?
Of course you do.
I ask myself, and I'm coming to grips with that. But when we're talking about purpose, I don't think at any point there's not going to be a struggle to step into your purpose, but it's worthwhile. I'm sitting here today listening to three men who live life, and it's encouraging. But not only that, it's what you have to do in order to find your purpose. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to go through the pain. So, yeah.
Can I add to what you said before about, did you feel like you had the right to be here? If you don't feel that you have the right to be here, then we don't have the right to be here ourselves. Because who we've become and the connection that we have, because what are we here for if we're not connecting with other people?
Yeah.
So our value is in the connections we have with others. And if they're not coming forward to us, then we're not connecting with them, and there goes our value. So don't you dare walk away.
I was doing the interview last night, Scott, and I used the example. It's like, you know, your story is what makes you fascinating. It's not, it's like I was saying to this woman last night, I said, if you were a person who was, you know, when people go and give talks on stage, if you got up on stage and you said, well, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and we had lots of maids, and we used to go driven around in a Rolls Royce. And then when I got old enough and I left the preppy school that I went to in Switzerland, I started my own business, but Dad gave me $500,000 to start it, and it became very successful. And now I'm a multi-millionaire, and life is really good. I mean, how many people are going to go, yay? Like, where's the hardship? Where's something you can relate to in that? It's kind of like, that's a nothing story. But if you said, you know, I was eating rats in the slums, and some cow in a Rolls Royce drove over my hand, and I was a triple amputee, and then I ended up becoming a fighter pilot. That's something for people to go, wow. Now there's a story. So it's the hardships that makes the story. It's not the ease of life. Yeah. And people relate to hardship. We think we don't, but we really, really do. Yeah, because it's the hero's journey.
Yeah. We're connecting to the other person. When we hear their tough stories and everything else, we see possibilities for ourselves. So it's not really about the person who's up on stage talking about themselves. It's always, whether you like it or not, it's about me. That goes for everybody. You know, you say, it's about me. And so by being able to listen to those stories, we can connect with them. It's not about, pulling down the tall poppies or anything like that. It's knowing that if other people have been through these things, then there is possibility for me. And if I stop and I listen and learn from them, I've got a chance of doing this. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. I can strive from what they've done. I can learn from that, and I can get there faster.
And I think Alan's just giving you gold dust there, Scott, because I think we overcomplicate what a purpose can be. And I think what Alan said about you there, you were spot on there, Alan. What you basically do, because you've come from those depths that I haven't experienced, you give people hope. Mm. And there's nothing wrong with that being your purpose in life. Mm. Mm. Yeah. You know, the people that come to me are people who need a little bit of hope in their life, that they're going to get out of this. For me, if you just went, that's my purpose in life, you've summed up what you've gone through to give people that. Yep. And you become a leader in that area. It's like, it's crazy how simple our purpose is. And then you can build a business on that. You will still attract people that need hope. You could start a gym. You will still attract people that need hope to become fitter, and they've struggled in that area for years. If I go and work with Scott, there's something about him that gives me hope.
I wonder if that's the underlying theme for it all, Jerome, for all of us.
I honestly do, Sean. For me, I'm helping people overcome shyness and expressing themselves. And that's because it was a major, major pain point for me in my life. And
you're giving them hope for the future.
Yeah, but it's my God, what Scott's done. I haven't been to those depths. I'm talking about not expressing myself on a soccer pitch. I haven't felt that kind of pain. I haven't had those kind of hardships. And what I'm saying, Scott, you're so compared to some. I mean, I don't really know Sean's story or Alan's story, but what you said on that thing, your intelligence in that area is so high. Recognizing your own self-worth in that area to go on and work with people that really need hope in their life, that things will turn around and become better.
I had somebody ask me recently, when men get together, who's the most important person in that group when we're doing men's work, for instance? And my answer to that was every last individual man, because we may be seen to have gotten gone a great distance from where we started to where we are now. But then you've got the people who are down the front end now, just starting their journey, and they look at where we are. Yes, they can see they can achieve it, but there's such a big gap. The fact that you're somewhere feeling that you're looking at us and looking at them, they're looking at you while you're looking at us. And while you're looking at us, they see that you're moving forward. So in that situation, you're just as important as anyone else there on the screen at the moment. Yeah. This is the thing, when men get together and they find their roles and they work together, every last person is unique in their own personalities. What they bring to the table is uniquely important as everybody else. That gets the ego out of all the crap. Then we get men being a man instead of trying to be the man in charge.
Good point.
I'm going to thank you in particular, Tom, just for that. And I'm loving being a part of this.
it's just what I'm saying is, when I see different things there, I see that in you, Scott. Now, I might be totally wrong. This is just my perspective, and it's just one individual. But when I see you, Sean, especially with the map you've got behind you in that, I see adventure. When you talked about going to the Arctic, building a tribe, you built a tribe and you had more responsibility to more people. When I see you, I see an adventurist, you know, and so we're all doing the same thing, but we've all got different ways of doing it. And some does it through being more adventurous. And if I want to I'll hang out with Sean and, you know, he'll talk to me about these adventurous stories. If I go, wow, how do you dig deep, Scott? And come out of that. I walk away with more hope than if I get a big tax bill. I go, wow, I've got hope of getting out of this because I've spent time with Scott and he's been in worse places than this and he's got through it. And we're all doing very minute things that are that have macro consequences.
Yeah.
I think that's the key though. Like in working through purpose and working, like I'm sitting here and we're talking about the real things in life. I'm just being honest with where I was at. And to get the honest feedback and to get the encouragement about having counsel, being around other people, it's so important. Whether you're a leader or if you're just learning, it doesn't matter. Both sides of counsel are important because when you're teaching, you're also learning.
Yes.
You're relearning again. So the importance of counsel, like for me, for Sunday sessions, part of it, the most beautiful part of it for me is I've sat down and I've written down what it means to me, why it's so important. That's my journey on it. I've asked other guys, they've read it, and they go, oh, that's not quite me. I said, great, share your story. Share your stories about why you're here. Share your stories about the pain you've been through. Because then together, we're all going to learn. We're all going to pick up skills, and then we'll all find our pathways.
Now, I was asked recently about, you know, when you go to an event, and I say, well, look, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because if I'm the smartest person in the room, when I leave the room, I'm no smarter than what I was when I walked in. But if I'm less smart than the others, then I'm going to walk out better than I was with more knowledge. So it's the same thing that when somebody goes, well, I haven't been through what other people have been through, or I'm so far down in the dumps, I haven't, you know, how can I get up to their heights? Well, the thing is, you should be the one who's rejoicing the most because you've got the bigger range to actually grow. Because if you're only going to grow up to the people around you, as they say, you are the average of the 5 closest friends. And in that men's group, if these men, that's the group up here, this is the average of the best, and you're down here, you only grow to there. But if you're way down here, you grow even further. So that's the situation, to go into a men's group and not feel intimidated because you haven't achieved anything. Rejoice in the fact that you've got such a journey and so far to go. If your life is okay now, what's it going to be when you get up to here? That's why I go into salespeople. I say, right, you think you're the best salespeople. You really want to hope that you're the worst salespeople because you're getting great results now. What sort of results are going to be when you get better skills? You're going to escalate further. So it's getting rid of the ego of worrying about I'm not as good as others, or I haven't been through what they've been through or whatever. I just look and go, okay, I want to learn from what you've experienced. It may not be connected to what I've done, but I can then look at how I can mold that and use that to get myself from where I am now to where I want to be.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Alan. It's beautiful.
Great.
Sean, if I was to ask you a question, just you know, finding purpose in life. If I was to come and spend a week with you, what's the one thing that you know in your heart that I would walk away with?
That's a good question. Nothing like being put on the spot, Jerome.
but I think what self-reflection is so important. If we look at all the people we've helped along the way, from a conversation on the bus to working with them at work or coaching or whatever, what's that common theme that when people walk away, they go, I got that from Sean, I got that from Scott, I got that from Alan, and I got that. And I think sometimes we try to find our purpose, but the outside world is actually giving it to us. It's that sometimes we don't really reflect on it and go, wow, if someone spends a week with me, what do they walk away with? They might walk away with a sense of adventure, more of a sense of adventure, because they've heard my stories, they've heard what I've done, where I spent my time, spent my money, taken action. And they're the things that have defined my values and my purpose. And so I pass it on to them through maybe a deep, meaningful conversation or some examples or some uplifting, inspirational confidence. And Scott, what would, what if I spent a week with you, what would I walk away with? And I think we can overthink what purpose is, and it can be something so simple. Well, if I spent a week with Jerome, I know I'd be much more confident to express myself on social media. And I know it's very, very simple, but sometimes it's really powerful as well.
No, it's a good question, Jerome. I was just thinking about it, and I think they'd probably walk away with optimism for the future.
And that's it. And that could be your purpose. Sometimes what is your purpose is to leave people with a more optimistic view of their future. And we try and be clever sometimes when we go. and why does that mean something to me? Where was I the opposite of the coin, and how did I transform my life through doing that? And I think when we really simplify it, whatever the vehicle is, you'll find people will gravitate to you because of that energy.
If you were going to answer that question, Scott, what would you say?
Yeah, I was enjoying listening to it and going through it.
I'm worried about that.
Don't pick me. Don't pick me.
No, I'm good with that. No, look, you would know that things aren't so bad. You would know there is a way to get through it, and you'd have gratitude for that.
Okay.
And I know
that's your purpose in life. As a man, and that is so needed. What Sean just said is so needed. We're all doing the same thing. It's just that we've got different energy around it.
There's one person we need to ask.
Alan.
Yes.
Well, growing up, my biggest problem was lousy relationships of all forms. And so now everything I do is about relationships. So what I can always say is that somebody who spends time with me will know more about themselves and will be able to know more about the other people around them and create better relationships with them.
Wow.
Everyone needs that.
Exactly. And that's fantastic, Alan. So if someone spent a week with you, they'd walk away having better relationships with themselves or with other people?
With themselves first, because you've got to build that relationship before you can have better relationships with others. Because otherwise, what are you presenting to the other person? Until you know what that is, the other people can never really connect with you, because that's always shifting. And once you understand that, then you can understand them, and then you can connect with them in the way that they need to be spoken to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know we're probably right on the cusp of time, but my next question would be, and maybe we can talk about it on another panel, would be, where really in society is that person you want them to walk away with more optimism, to know that they're going to spend, there's hope and there's a way out of this, and because I find for me it's men that are just about to start a family or have got a young family. And really in that shaky area of their life where they're coming out. Do you know the Page Knight, Prince and King?
Yeah.
That's we go through as men. Well, they're coming out of the Knight period and they're just about to go into the first stage of the Prince phase of their life, and they're starting a family, or they've got a young family and they've got a business. And so that's where I really struggled in life as well, those two areas. And it's allowing them to express themselves more from a personal level and a professional level. So that's my real demographic that I work. That's my sweet spot. Do I work with other people? Yes, I do. But 80%, they naturally come to me organically. There's no resistance there. So that's the next level you go to in your purpose.
And you know what that is, and you'll get the right clients and that, or people to work with.
Yeah, I don't even look at it as clients. I just, this is my purpose. Yeah. The challenges I had and where I was most challenged with those areas in my life, you know, so expressing myself to my children and all those things. It is all the common theme. And I find when you take business out of it and you just live as a man with purpose and want to become a better version of yourself, you find this is where I'm supposed to do my work. This is where I'm supposed to master my craft. Where I get up every day and sharpen my sword or sharpen my spear and become better at it. And when we do that as men, when we find our real area, we do our best work, the communities become such a better place.
I think that's a great point and probably a good one to end on, because when we first got together, we started joking and laughing and everything else off screen, and we said we're going to stick to the hour. Well, we've gone over that. This is the whole thing. We keep getting men together. They're just having such a great time. And what I'd love to do is get your, even bring this panel back again, the group that we've got here today, and go into this even deeper again. So if you guys would be up to that, we'll have to organise that as well.
Absolutely. Love it.
Because we've had mixed groups all over the place, and some of the men have said, I really want to be on the same panel as so-and-so. So we've actually, none of these have been organised that way, but a few of them I have orchestrated. But we'll have to orchestrate another one with you guys again together with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Love that. Can I say a big thank you to everybody? Like every time I'm on the campfire, I re-listen to everything because there's so much gold in every conversation, and this is just such a beautiful place to be. And I love sharing it through my socials because I think every time we talk, there's lessons across the board for everybody. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, I echo you, Scott.
Well, thanks, guys, for being here. One of the things that was asked of me the other day was, or even this morning, by somebody was, can some of these panel discussions go outside the group? So I'm thinking of doing that, but I'll check with all the panel people who have been on and may advertise it. That might get a few more people coming in here to then get them to feel comfortable enough to share their stories as well, so they can start their journeys or move their journeys on. So
it's a great outlet, Alan. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So thanks for Jerome, thanks Scott and Sean for being here today, and to everybody else out there, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you on the next Campfire panel discussion. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.